Just to introduce the entity I'm working for, the South African National Space Agency is an entity of the Department of Science and Innovation. We have various divisions that we are working on, and then that includes the creation of satellites, which in this case, South Africa, we do a lot of nanosatellites in collaboration with other institutions, universities as well. We also do satellite tracking. That is where we track various types of satellites, communication, satellite navigation, Earth observation. That's what we're going to be talking more about today. And also we do what we call space weather. That is, we monitor the outer space weather. Okay, so that was just to this slide to present, to introduce the entity that I'm working for. So coming to this technology that we are working on, which assists us to aid in the provision of information regarding disasters, we use this technology called Earth observation. I thought it would be okay for me to introduce the technology since I've had the most experts or attendees there come from various disciplines, including the health sector. Earth observation is the ability of us to gather information about our Earth's physical and chemical and biological systems using a technology called remote sensing. So with this, various entities use this Earth observation technology for their own varied mandates. Water Research Council, Dr. Beja just presented, they focus more on water. Sorry. And they use Earth observation as well, that is remote sensing for their research. South African Weather Services also uses Earth observation technology, uses remote sensing for the provision of weather, and other entities also use the same technology for their own different mandates. At EO, that is SANSA EO, currently what we do, we do applications on water, on agriculture to aid food security, on marine research, on disaster management, on housing and infrastructure planning, some mining as well. So we applied on a variety of applications. Coming to disaster management, we currently work on three themes, that is the drought, the fires, and the floods. We're going to talk more about the floods. The first two I'm just going to browse through quickly. And here we are just trying to show how the remote sensing technology can aid in assisting us respond or predict or plan for these disasters which are mentioned there. Coming to drought indicators, we have many indicators, variables, which measure anti-greenness, which measure soil moisture, which measure temperature, which measure quite a variety of features, or which then tells us if there will be a drought or not. So Agricultural Research Council will use Earth observation to develop these types of variables. Water Research Council will also develop such. DWS, Department of Water and Sanitation, Water and Sanitation will also do the same. So this is where the technology is being used to aid in drought. Coming to fires, this tool, some of you might be aware of it, some of you might not be aware, is the Wildfire Information at Your Fingertips, AFIS, Advanced Fire Information System, which allows us to see active fires everywhere in the world. So was developed by the CSIR.
Dis 'n webinar campaign. So wat het ons nou, laat ek net gou dink. So ons het die ons het die locus PPE.
I'm hearing feedback. Somebody's talking. Okay, thank you. So this tool allows us to see fires that are active in the country 24 hours at all times. So in cases where there's a huge fire or a fire disaster, this system also issue alerts in terms of SMSs to fire authorities in those different regions of the country, and then they can take the necessary steps to extinguish the fire or take any other mitigatory procedure. Another work which we do in-house at SANSA regarding fires is what we call fire investigations, where we investigate where the fire started, how it progressed in burning and destructing whatever, be it crop infrastructure that was on its way, and then that we also use as information or as evidence for disputes, either for insurances or for courts, lawsuit, whatever. And this is just giving an example. The red area that you see there is the fire scar, which was assessed as to where the fire started. And then we superimpose that with the farm layer, and then we are able to tell which farms or which plots got affected and by how much, what was there prior to the fire. And that helps us determine exactly what got and then those who do economics can then quantify in terms of monetary value exactly what had been destroyed. Coming to floods, when coming to floods, how we respond is we get a directive from the department or from OCTA, the NDMC. Mr. Pillay, he gave a presentation yesterday. He notifies us that there is a cyclone coming, or there is heavy downpours in a particular area in South Africa. Therefore, we must assist in providing the status on the ground of what is happening, and then we do that. An example of that is, I'm using an Africa one. The South African example is also there. The Africa one, this was a 2019 flood. I think it was Cyclone Kenneth and Idai, which affected four countries. It affected South Africa, it affected Mozambique, it affected Zimbabwe, it affected Malawi as well. And that cyclone, this is an image which we're able to acquire during the rainfall, and then we're able to see exactly how the overflow from the rivers happened. And then this, we can see even downstream up until Beira, exactly what was happening, and then we can quantify those different houses, those different settlements that are affected by the overflow of water. The same happened in Limpopo. We did this in 2020. And then we're able to map little water ponds within the settlement. The blue color that you see there is actually the water ponds which we were able to detect using SAR during the heavy rainfall, and we superimpose that with a before image, which shows us exactly what was there on the ground prior to that heavy rainfall. The same cyclone of 2019 also affected Durban. We assessed the Umlazi megacity informal settlement, which was heavily flooded at the time. And then not only are we monitoring or being able to map flooding as and when it happens, we also have tools that also allows us to predict where flooding is most likely to happen. Should we receive extreme rainfalls. And this is what we call flood risk layer. You can see it covers some parts of Mozambique. Now it also covers some parts of Zimbabwe, Botswana, Zambia, and Malawi as well. Using that very same tool, superimposing it with satellite imagery over Cape Town, it allows, it is able to indicate to us which areas are at risk of flooding should should we receive extreme rainfall. A case in point, the example which I'm showing, there is also a water treatment plant there, and then there are also settlements around the Charlton Hill area, which I'm just using as an example. We also do what we call damage assessment, where we assess post-flooding how much and what got damaged. An example I'm demonstrating now is an area in Sisi in Limpopo where a bridge was washed away. And using, when we do this, local knowledge becomes very important because the local people actually are able to provide more other information as to very much implication. Coming to Jagersfontein, Mr. Play has spoken extensively about this, so I'm not going to go too much into it. We spoke about it yesterday, but the key thing is we're able to also superimpose the satellite imagery with the cadastra, and then able to identify the exact types that were affected, the exact houses that were washed away, and then we label that. We count that, the roads as well, which got damaged, the water infrastructure, so on and so forth. And for the environment, we also check downstream. We assessed from the tailing through to Jagersfontein Dam. That is where the sludge actually ended up. So over the 3 weeks from the weekend of the 11th of September, we were assessing that sludge as to how it's expanding, going downstream. So we're able to do that and quantify the exact farms that got affected along that river. Going back to damage assessment again, this is 2019 Durban, where a bridge was affected. Coming to the recent floods of April 2022, the Umlazi mega city that I spoke about that was affected even in 2019, this time also got affected, which tells us that even though we have the tools and information to actually provide information as to where the problem is and where that potential problem could be in the future, less action is taken with regard to that particular information. A case in point is this example where all other small, I can say small because they were not at this magnitude of the recent one, the flooding. All other small flooding which happened, we knew the highways that got flooded, they kept getting flooding, which means that the drainage issues were not resolved. And then the very same with the settlement. Year in, year out, it would get affected, but it was not to the magnitude of what happened in 2022. But still, even then, measures I don't think were taken to prevent such. Hence, in this case, that settlement lost a lot of people. A road washed away, again, along the Bambanani Street. A house, actually, I think about 3 or 4 houses were washed away completely, where you see a house and then now there's no more house. An apartment building as well were destroyed. An intersection as well got destroyed. An informal settlement which was built along a river as well, similar to the Umlas one. This one also, prior it would get flooded from time to time. And another settlement which, fortunately this one, I think it is in the form of a pond. It is not, there's no river around it, but there is a lot of water which stops there whenever there is heavy rainfalls. A wastewater treatment plant also got affected, which also gives an indication to say some chemicals may have been washed into the environment, and if there are any other waterborne diseases that may occur, an indicators for where to look for state disaster. A village also got affected. Actually, the school there was, the access to the school was cut off during that time, and then kids were not able to access that particular school. The school that I'm talking to is this one. And then overflow from the highway as well went to affect a formal residential, which affected a lot of houses. Another very interesting disaster that occurred was the unrest. So using satellite imagery, we were able to track the infrastructure that was being burnt, the warehouses that were being vandalized. What we see here is actually people who were looting this particular warehouse. This warehouse was spared. And then this is a shopping complex. When we do damage assessment, you see the exact damage that happened within that particular shopping center, with some showing some evidence of having been burnt. But obviously, our limitation is that we cannot really see what happened inside. You can only see the sound and the roof. We also do awarenesses and also trainings to officials, government officials, professionals, and also in universities as well. We work with various universities. So in recommendations, there are early warning information regarding different types of disasters, including flooding. Most are earth observation, and they just need to be used so that we can prevent this many disasters, the severity of the disasters. And earth observation technology is actually a watching eye. It allows us to watch what is happening on the ground from space, and we're able to quantify and predict exactly what is happening there to aid emergency responses. And also, Earth observation plays a huge role in the quantification of the damage so that we can quantify the exact infrastructure that got damaged for audit purposes and also for allocation of resources. Because often there can be a disaster and the reports from the ground can come saying that 10,000 houses have been affected, and satellite imagery, you find that it speaks a different language. On that note, thank you very much.